All right. Hi, everyone. This is Neha with College Shortcuts. I wanted to jump on here just a minute earlier to make sure all my tech is working. So everyone, please join on. We're going to do a lovely webinar today. Very excited to have everyone on here today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me get my slides up. And so what I would love to do is just to make sure that everyone can hear me, please go ahead and use let's take a look here, the chat box. The chat box is going to be the best place for us to communicate together. So I'm going to throw out a message there and say hi. If you can go ahead and type into the chat box and let me know if you can hear me and see the slides, that would be awesome. And we can go from there. All right, perfect. Okay, we're going to wait a few minutes before we get started. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and just start with me for a minute. Okay, so for everyone that is joining, please go ahead and type in your name in the chat box, as well as what grade your child is in. I'm very excited about doing this live webinar today because I know so many people have so many questions when it comes to college admissions right now. And so what we wanted to do was to do this quick, lovely webinar about admissions specifically and what needs to be done over the next few months and the next few years, depending on what grade your child is in. So I know we've got a lot of people still logging in. So go ahead and let me know where you're from. So I'll type that in. Where are you from? And what grade is your child in? So go ahead and type in the chat box. And if you can't find the chat box, I hope by now everyone knows kind of where the chat box is, just since so many of us have been on Zoom. Go ahead and look to the bottom of your screen on Zoom. You'll see the chat button right there, and that'll be perfect. And I know we've got a lot of people joining in through audio and other ways other than just through Zoom. So glad to see so many people logging in. Okay, Michigan. Pankaj says, I've got a Michigan. I'm from Michigan and have a student going into 10th grade. Okay, awesome. So very exciting there. Good to hear. Okay, perfect. All right, awesome. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just kind of warm up here. So one of the reasons why we wanted to do this webinar is because, oh my gosh, if there's ever been more changes in admissions, it's been in the last, I'd say 12 to 24 months. This entire industry has been under fire in a way, and in the news so much with so many changes, whether it's scandals going on, scores, tests changing, vaccine, non-vaccine, live, virtual. So I'm so glad you guys are here to learn, because we've got so many updates that we want to give you because of how many shifts and changes that are happening in the admissions process right now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is share my slides. If you can go ahead and type in the chat box, let me know if you can see my slides. Type in the word slides in the chat box so I can make sure that you can absolutely see me and see the slides as well. So go ahead and type that in. Awesome. All right. Okay, perfect. So slides are viewed. So what I want to do today is I want to talk a lot about all the changes that are happening and things you need to be aware of, because we know that there's so many changes that are happening in admissions right now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get started and let everyone join in as they join in. But one of the big things that we've seen over the last year is changes from prompts of essays to all the different test scores. But before I get into that, I just wanted to give you a little background on me. My name is Neha Gupta. I'm the founder of College Shortcuts. If you guys have heard of us, please go ahead and let us know when you heard of us or how you found out about us. I'd love to know. That would be great. And put that in the chat box. That would be great. So we help students in the admissions process as early as 8th grade all the way through the college admissions process. And we have been more busy than ever before just because of how, I mean, all the changes that have happened. You know, just in the last year, we launched over 7 summer camps last year. We had so many students that were asking for help because so many students couldn't get the level of help they needed from their admissions counselor at school, in their high school, with all the kids in their grades. So we've actually grown exponentially in the last year, and we continue to grow because our goal is to help as many kids as we can. My mission in particular is to help students get into the college of their dreams. It's so crazy. I went to Rice University and I was just on the phone with someone from Rice alumni, and it was a student just talking about, how exciting it is that, Rice is offering their first business undergrad major for the first time in the next year. They're building so many new buildings that they're going to have a new dorm coming up, and they're going to have even more students that are going to be able to join. And so I love having that network and that connection. And I think every child should have that. When you leave college, you want to make sure you have that alumni network by your side to ensure that you are successful and you have that connection, because, let's face it, your net worth is your network. And we really believe that when you go to these types of schools, you have connections that are priceless. I was talking to a friend recently that said they were on a call, and they work in medicine, specifically in data science. And they said that everyone on that call went to a top 20 university, and they were so glad that they chose to go to a top Ivy, because it shows that, there's a certain kind of just way jobs get placed of who knows who, and it can be really powerful. So my goal is to help students not only get into the top schools, but really live the life of their dreams. Now, what we do is we help a lot of students. We can help kids get into Ivies. We get into the top most competitive schools. And, if you haven't read any of my things yet, I've written the 4-year plan, which helps students to map out every month. I've also written College Shortcuts, the book. I was a featured author in Chicken Soup for the Soul, which was a book I used to read as a teenager. So it's kind of crazy to be in it. And then, of course, I created my own Accepted magazine. One of my biggest inspirations in life is Oprah and O Magazine. And so we created our own magazine because I truly believe that, embracing your own inner unicorn is what it's all about. Now, maybe you might have heard of me through press or my TEDx talk, which I'm very passionate about, which is achievement killing us, and how to have more fulfillment in your life. Maybe you've heard of me from ABC or CBS, but we've been featured on many different TV stations as well as press as well. And it's my honor to get to speak my message to so many people. So what I want to get into today specifically is the effects of COVID for 12th graders, 11th graders, all grade levels, and why it's so important to have structure and time management and study habits for all grade levels, as well as test prep. One of the big things that came up last year was how difficult it was to take the tests and how many colleges let it go. And now we have students trying to get all over the place in the US to take a test. So I want to address that a little bit, because I think I've seen so many families feeling so much stress around exams and tests and those types of things, which, we don't want to feel stress around it. So I'm also going to be offering a special resource at the end. So please make sure to stay on. I know we've got a lot of people on different platforms that are watching this, but we are going to make sure that you get your special resource at the end. And I know we've got people on Zoom and all sorts of different platforms, audio and so forth. Now, as always, there's always two camps when it comes to college admissions. There's Group A, which is the family that says, I hope and pray maybe we'll get into a good school. We're just going to see. And then they start scrambling at the end. These are families that tend to wait till the last minute. They're applying regular decision, even though their child totally qualifies, but they just procrastinating. And then I've got Group B parents, and these are really interesting. These are parents that say, you know what? Our family has control of our destiny. We want to research and find the opportunities. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Even if it's a hard time, we plan ahead, we prepare, and we take action. So what I want you to do is think about yourself, and I want you to type in the chat box and let me know. There's no good or bad, but what group do you tend to be in? Is it Group A where you're kind of just waiting to the last minute, or you're hoping, or is it Group B where you're methodical and take action and so forth? So type that into the chat box. I'm curious to see, in terms of where do you feel like you fall? And just, we will be doing live Q&A at the end. So please make sure to write down your questions as we go along so that I can make sure I answer any questions that you have. And if you have a teenager in the room, I just want to say, hi, nice to see you, teenager. Love you so much. So glad to see you on. We love having our teens on the line. All right, so let's talk about the competitive nature of admissions, because I think One of the things we thought that would happen last year is that there would be a few things. One is we thought that less students would apply to competitive schools because such an economic downturn, so people were losing jobs. We thought students would go for local schools or community colleges. And so these were a lot of the predictions that were made early of last year before the admissions cycle. Actually, the opposite occurred, and we were shocked. Instead, we actually saw a 50% increase in so many applications at universities, which tanked admissions rates. So as you can see here, and the reason why I put this chart up is because I just want to show for my procrastinators on there specifically, or the ones that are unsure about when to apply, or the perfectionist out there that wants to keep editing their essay till regular decision. This chart should help you to understand that that may not be the best decision. So as you can see here, you know, if you look at schools like Brown, where it says like there's about a 5%, you can have a 21% chance of getting in if you're applying early decision or early action versus 5%. Guys, that is a huge difference just based on proactiveness. If you think about that, that's crazy. And it shows over and over. I mean, if you see the green is early decision, early action, red is regular decision. Now, for my parents that are early on, like Pankaj here, has got a 10th grader, what that means is these are the application deadlines. So for example, applications open August 1st. We are, you know, getting close. And what ends up happening is applications open and you can apply starting August 1st. The deadline for early decision, early action tends to be October, November, and like, yeah, I'd say those are the main deadlines. So for teenagers, they think, okay, I have till November. No, that's not what I mean. That's just a deadline. Okay. And then regular decision tends to be January 1st. No one wants to do this over Christmas break, just to be clear either. We actually don't take students because of the stress, and we want our families and friends and our teams to have a good time over Christmas. So we are a team that believes in applying early and proactive and showing that attitude. And this right here, if there's nothing you get from this today, and this is the only thing you remember, it's that the proactive students that make it happen, that know how to manage their time, have a 15 to 20% more chance of getting in than all the other students that could have higher scores, better grades, better story in regular decision. So that's a big deal. And I really want to put that out there. It also shows you in general how competitive admissions rates have gotten. Now, one of the big problems and why college shortcuts exists, and please let me know in the chat box if your child is at a public school, or let me know how large is the grade of your child's school and the grade that they're in. So if they're in 10th grade, how many students are in that grade? So on average across the United States, we've got 500 students to one counselor who's helping with college admissions. Now, if you do that math out, last year we saw on average, on average, students were applying to 15 universities. That's up in the sense the year prior, students were applying to 8 to 10. Okay, so we saw a 50% increase in applications going out to colleges. So if you think about that math, I'm just going to type that in my little handy dandy calculator. I'm sure I've got some good data dads on here that could do the math faster. But if you have 500 students times 15 applications, that's 7,500 applications being reviewed. No way. So this counselor doesn't have time. 38 minutes per student. And let me tell you something, Duke University tuition is $81,000 a year. Do you want a counselor that's spending 38 minutes on an 81,000 times 4 decision? No, you want someone by your side that is walking you through the steps, giving you the best advantages, making sure you know what you need to get done. And so that's why we created, look, Pankaj just saying right there, public school, 500 students. It's literally my slide. And we see this every single day. I was talking to a dad, oh my God, it broke my heart. He had said, look, my child would not let me work with them on the college admissions process. He was like #1 in robotics. He did an incredible job, great school, but he wouldn't let me look at the essays. He wouldn't let me do it. And he got in nowhere. And he applied regular because he kept perfecting it. And he said, so my child's gonna have to sit back for a year while all his friends on the robotics team got into all Ivies. And he should have gotten into a top school. And so I said, wow, that's horrible. That's got to be tough as a parent to have to hear that. So, I just want to say, I know there's a beautiful balance between like teenagers taking ownership and being in charge. And that's something we push for with our counselor experience. But also with the parents, like a lot of parents are paying for college. And so it is a delicate balance of like, hey, like getting help, making sure you have the right decision and getting the most scholarships, like getting the right help really can make all the difference in this process. And I really urge you to think about that as you go through this. The second thing I also want to push is, I was talking to a mom last week about it, who had hired us as well. They said, when it came down to it, and I realized that I wanted to have a really phenomenal last year with my child, there was no price that I wasn't willing to pay to have that peace of mind as a mom. And so I just want to put that out there because I really do believe that with the amount of stress and anxiety we already have, being able to outsource this and have the right team by your side can really help to alleviate or make your relationship better. One of the biggest things I saw in my own household was a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, and a lot of stress when it came to this. And it's a major reason why I created this business, because I felt like, okay, like you want kids that want to come back and visit you, right? And you want them to still enjoy your time. So it really is about, alleviating that stress. So let's talk about today's problem. Last year, admissions applications increased by over 50% in major institutions. Some saw upwards of 46,000 extra applications for something as little as 3,000 seats. UC schools saw hundreds of thousands of more applications, and we do expect to see it in the next few years. Harvard had a record low of 4.6% acceptance rate. Guys, these rates are going to keep going lower. And I don't want to freak you out, but I just think you should know the reality. And because of that, it means that if the competition is getting stronger, you need to make sure you have the right team by your side. Second big things that are happening is around the SAT and ACT, SAT2s, AP exam changes going from 1 hour to 3 hours. Again, so there's a lot of things around that I'll be diving into. College applications still open August 1st. Guys, last year still opened August 1st. They didn't change anything because it's a fully virtual process. So keep in mind, many of the recruiters are staying home. They're not going to come by, visit every grimy high school and touch everybody. No, they're doing their sessions like this. So they have a lot of time on their hands starting August 1st. So wouldn't it make sense to apply earlier? Big thing too, lots of students require deferrals. They ask for gap year requests. That means that spots for this upcoming year are taken. And so keep that in mind. More spots are taken, competition is getting higher, applications are increasing. So there's a lot of things to be looking at, all the little factors. And of course, students need accountability and time management and study habits with virtual learning. And a mentor can help, and a coach can help relax them during this time and help to create that structure. And then essay prompts. The Common App got rid of one of the most analytical questions about solving problems, and they're changing it to update today's new world. Wow, that was hard to say. Are changing to update to today's new world. So what that means is they're updating their prompts so that it is more relevant to what they're looking for. So again, one of the big things I said last year was it's not the scores, it's not the scores anymore, it's the story. Essay prompts are actually shifting in that manner of what they're looking for, which is a really big deal. All right, now let's talk about what's super important for all grade levels, okay? So one of the big things that most people are realizing is that being prepared is way better than being in panic. I am an overly prepared person. Let me show you what I mean by that. I am someone that I have many systems in which I utilize. I have this journal that writes my list of things constantly in there. I have another planner right here that I utilize, and it has everything that I like to plan out. I have my Google Calendar, and right over here, I have 2021's entire calendar year out till December. I know that the world stopped for a while, but the truth of the matter is it's moving. And it's very important for us to understand that being prepared is always better than being in panic. Now, I know we've had some more people jump on just now, and I want to welcome you guys all in. Just want to say a quick hello. Hi, Fahima. Hi, Flenderja. Hi, Pankaj. Hi, Rupashri. Please type in the chat box what grade your child is in and where you're from. This is live, and I want to make sure I've got everything on. I know a lot of people joining in a lot of different platforms. Okay, so preparation is everything. Structure and time management is crucial during this time. And, you know, I've seen what I call high-powered families that, you know, their kids are getting internships, their kids are on point, they've got a coach, and they had that since they started high school. Nothing changed just because of a pandemic. And it was fascinating to see how the kids were still on track. And the truth is, kids need structure. You know, their prefrontal cortex is not formed until after the age of 25. So for them to do it on their own all the time can be very challenging because their brain doesn't actually work that way. And having a mentor close to their age can make a really big difference. Now, I know many parents are concerned with their child's education based on, oh, hey, Rupashri is in Frisco, Texas. Hey, I'm in Houston. Nice to see you. Flenderja said, my son is going into 12th grade in September. We are from New York. Wow. Hi, Flenderja. So we've got 12th graders, we've got 11th graders on the line. So all this is going to be relevant. I'm going to tailor it to you guys too. And then we've got some coming through for 10th and so forth. Okay, so I know a lot of people are concerned with, you know, going virtual or in person. Please type in the chat box. Let me know if you are virtual or in person. I'm just curious here. But there have been many schools across the country adopting virtual classrooms. And so we're going to see shifts and a lot of different questions around specifically if there's going to be virtual for the next school year, or if it's going to be a mix at the university for in-person classes, some virtual, some. And so we're just going to have to play that by ear in terms of the amount of, you know, different things that we see here. So it all depends. But we have to keep an open mind and really be flexible. All right, so all grade levels. If we take time to understand what a student needs, they can succeed in being adaptable during this time. T, think about your plan of action for the week. I, instill time management and accountability coaches. M, make studying and homework a priority. And E, express your needs if you clearly need help. Look, I never knew how to ask for help. That's why I created this company. I thought I could do everything myself as a high achiever, and then I just ended up completely stressed and high anxiety. I see everyone's telling me that, so past year was virtual, coming year is in person, somewhere in person, last year was virtual. So yeah, so a lot of different school systems are doing different things. So what we want to do is make sure that we get the help that we need, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help. So let's talk about the 12th grade specifically, and everyone can learn from this because this is important. Applying early decision or early action will make all the difference, as according to my chart earlier. Having a standout essay and narrative matters more than ever. The essay process matters, story more than scores. So what I'm trying to explain here is when it comes to the essay, we are working so diligently with students. Actually, in the last year, we invested in a new software that helps to ask detailed questions that will go deep with students to break down the topics and to help them get the best story possible. Because if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the best answers. And we've seen this with students. Not all students are forthcoming about their information. And it's really important to not only build a relationship, but for them to be able to be open and vulnerable. You know, in the last year, we saw so many stories come through, you know, with COVID and everything going on in their lives. And I will tell you, the essay, and I've said this so many times before, the essay truly matters more than anything else. And it is so important to make sure that you're writing an essay that really hooks the reader, that it's very clear to understand what's going on. It's not redundant to your resume. And it's a story that tugs very hard at the heartstrings. There are still some colleges that are not taking scores this upcoming year. So looking into each university and seeing the requirements is going to be very important for you. Essay prompts are updated. You know, there was an essay prompt before that so many kids love, especially my STEM kids, that were all about like, describe a problem you'd like to solve and like, what's the solution? Well, they actually threw that prompt out and they said, you know, it was in regards to values and grit, and it was reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you feel happy or thankful in some way, and how has that gratitude motivated you? Guys, this is a personal development question. I'm all about it because it actually talks about like who the child is versus just like what is an analytical problem you want to solve. This really gets to the heart of the student. So from this perspective, as we can see, essays matter more than ever in the past. If you don't have someone working on this, the competition is fierce over the next few years. It's going to be a story, passion. The human aspect matters way more than the numbers. So I just want to make it very clear for 12th graders. I know we've got some families here that have 12th graders. There's nothing more important right now than making sure that you have a very clear narrative. You're very clear about where you want to go, why you want to go there, and you are able to eloquently express yourself of exactly why you want to be there. You have to remember you're competing with students that have some pretty intense stories. Last year, our essays were incredible. Some of the things we read, you want to elicit a very strong emotion. There was a lot that happened in the last year, and there's a lot to write about. So if you're going to stay surface level, don't expect to get in. You're competing with, in some cases, upwards of 50 to 100,000 applications for 4,000 spots. It's not about your GPA. It's not about your SAT score. It's not about your extracurriculars. It's actually going to end up being like, who are you actually? What do you stand for? And, activism is very big right now. Community service, giving back. These values truly matter when it comes to admissions. And so showing that in the essay makes a big difference. I know a lot of kids took a back seat. They were on Snapchat or Instagram watching a bunch of Netflix. There's some kids that did that. But you know what? There's some kids that really made a difference. I mean, oh my God, my heart is like, I can like feel it in my heart. We had some kids that were like making masks, learning how to sew. I mean, when was the last time you saw a teenager know how to sew? We had students that picked up gardening that were like donating their food to people that like couldn't get food. We had students start like mental health nonprofits. I mean, these are amazing projects, and it was all through our mentorship and capstone, through our capstone project specifically. So I'm telling you, there's a lot of ways to stand out, and it's really important to make sure you have the right story. So what do 12th grade families really need to do? They need to be rest assured. I hope you love my acronyms because I know it's like such nerd alert, but I love my acronyms. So R, review your school's list and what they want in terms of the schools. E, edited narrative and application. Make sure you get people to check that application. S, submit your application as soon as possible. Do not wait for an extra letter of recommendation. Do not wait for a score to come in. You can submit those later. Make sure that you submit as soon as possible. And T, it's time to get accepted. We had so many students that were accepted into their dream schools. We had kids making upwards of 30,000 in scholarships to 180,000 in scholarships. I mean, it was an amazing year last year from an admission standpoint of what we were able to get done. Now let's talk about these exams. If we've got any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat box. I'll answer them as we go along too. So if you have any questions specifically to you or any thoughts you might have, please put it in below. Okay, so let's take a look here. So SAT, SAT2, ACT, and AP exams. Let's just get into this. Okay, SAT and ACT exams are still being reviewed, meaning if your child is going to be a senior, there are many schools that are opting out of taking the test because so many students had to like drive to another city or fly to another city to take the test. And that's not really fair. So if you weren't able to take it, that's okay. If you were able to take it and you got a good score, share it. If you took it and your score did not do well, don't share that. That's okay. Let's just take that as like, let's just throw that in the trash can, and that's all right. There are a lot of factors of testing that can affect testing. So make sure that you realize that. Now, if you've got an 11th grader or a 10th grader or 9th grader, so in the next few years, as we move past everything going on, SAT, ACT will come back. So make sure you're getting test prep, make sure you're getting the tutoring. We help students with this because we knew it was still going to come back. And even if schools aren't taking it, even if you take it and you do really well, that's amazing. I just found out from a student that I know is a sophomore this year, going to be a junior, made a 34 the first time on the ACT. I was like, oh my God, Kat is in the bag, sweetheart. Great job. So they still have a full year if they want to perfect that score. But regardless, take the test, see what you can do. AP exams, they are done virtually and they are 3 hours long. Some might be in person, but last year they were 1 hour. And that was extremely challenging for students. So they moved it back to 3 hours. Again, APs make a difference. The more competitive classes you take, the more you're showing that you have the academic rigor that you need to go to these top schools. It's very important to realize that these are things that still matter. Not everything is totally shifted and changed. SAT 2 exams got fully canceled. Like nada, gone, poof. No one's got to take an SAT 2 math, chemistry, history, or English, or Spanish anymore because no one could get into the SAT. So they've thrown that test out. I was shocked when this happened. And maybe it'll come back, but probably not. And then a strategy for these exams must be put into place to succeed for these exams. Please don't think you can just wake up one day and get a 1600. I've never heard of it. It just doesn't normally happen. So you've got to make sure that you practice, you put that time in, set it into your calendar. And for my students that are listening, it's for a short amount of time and then you're done. You don't have to do it again. So just keep that in mind that it is a short amount of time to get it done. Now let's address the people that we have here on the line that are for years that are younger specifically. So 11th grade and younger. So first, keep in mind that requirements may change over the next 12 months. So one of the big things to realize is that there's so many things changing at different schools and different things. So just keep that in mind, that just be flexible and understand that if you don't have an upcoming senior, that it is going to keep changing. Next big thing that's coming is the SAT and ACT requirements will change again. So keep getting prepped. So for the students that couldn't take it this year, that are in 11th, 10th grade, just keep practicing and realizing that you just need to sign up ahead of time. Big thing to remember is to build your admissions narrative and make sure to find your capstone project and find your passion. So through these next years, they're still expecting students to figure out what their major is. They still want people to figure out, what they want to do. They want to showcase that each year with different projects. Now, I know a lot of stuff was canceled in person, but it doesn't mean you can't utilize online services, one-on-one coaching, figuring out what your passion is, even at home. Look, if it was in the 1980s, pre-Oregon Trail, like way back in the day, I can understand that it would be a little challenging, but we have so many resources online right now that there are ways to craft that narrative as early as, honestly, 5th grade. I've got a niece that I've been practicing on since 2nd grade. She already has a nonprofit. She's saved over 40 penguins. And then this year she just got the Toshiba award. And I think it was $10,000 that is now in an account for her college fund. And she is 10 years old. She's a really cool kid, but she has had the right guidance and the right navigation to find her passion. And that's what capstone projects do. And it's a spin-off product and service that we now offer just by itself for this year that we really highly recommend. Big thing to note, admissions is very competitive and it's going to continue to be competitive. Students are applying now on average to 15 to 18 schools, not 8 to 10 as the years before. So that means more students are applying to more schools. And that is just domestically. We are going to see an increase again from international students. So it's going to continue over the next few years. So please keep that in mind, that getting the right help can make all the difference. AP exams still matter. Even if they're virtual, you've got to make sure that your kid is studying, has the right books, like the right thick books that they can get to take those practice problems. They get higher scores, they get credit for those classes. You don't have to pay for them in college. So imagine if your student gets 4s and 5s, which is the highest score on the APs, and gets into a great college and they have, 5 or 6 of those, you could save an entire semester of classes. That can be upwards of $30,000 to $40,000, depending on the university, of them getting ahead. So remember, it shows academic rigor and it saves you money. And then the big thing is really create a plan of action for the next 12 months, especially if your child is in 11th grade, from grade scores and planning your application for next year. And then the big thing I always want to push on, and I've been saying this for years, regardless of all the changes that have happened, is that your story matters. Building your narrative as early as 8th grade, having your capstone projects, And although many things have canceled, this is what truly matters. And I've said this over and over, that the story is more than the scores. Even before everything that happened, scores got you in the door, but if you didn't have a good essay, it just wasn't going to happen. It's all about the way you craft your story, how eloquent you are, how you write it, how you pull the heartstrings, what is the hook in that first few sentences, and what are the things you're actually passionate about? Because passion is what pops on the paper. That's what makes the difference. And we really believe that students that are passionate, first of all, it's not just about being passionate to get into college, it's about having a passion in general in life. That's what's going to get them to not only have success, but also fulfillment. And then a big thing we did in the last year was we pushed heavily on the power and importance of soft skills. We saw that virtual interviews became very big and they are here to stay. Colleges are going to be interviewing students through Zoom. It's going to be very important that they know how to dress, they know how to speak, they know how to look into the camera, they know how to connect quickly. And so soft skills truly matter. We actually revamped our mentorship program to focus specifically on soft skills, because we found in the last year, this is the biggest thing that students are not getting due to the lack of in-person experience. And so we're realizing, since it's an important aspect of success, we wanted to make sure we focused in on it. So I know that was me on my little soapbox there. But remember, I was talking about earlier about Group A. So Group A, again, is this camp of students that will scramble up with coming up with their essays in the next few months, trying to balance their APs and their senior classes. They're going to be frustrated. They're not going to be able to write all their essays properly, and they're going to be having a hard time standing out. These camps typically will try to get guidance from their counselor who's already too busy. You know, that's Group A. And then there was Group B. Group B is like, look, I've got my forecasted timelines. I've got my calendars up. I've got my planner right here. They know colleges will continue to accept students because they can't afford not to. And if they apply earlier, they have a better chance. They already know the statistics on that. They know the power of being prepared versus panic. They know they have a competitive edge because they're going to make sure that they work hard. They know that with all this extra time off, this is the time to work on their essay, get their resume done. And they know that, you know, it's all about making sure, because the prompts come out every February, and they know that they can get this done. So I want to ask you to put in the chat box, which group do you want to be part of? Do you want to be Group A, or do you want to be Group B? And I hope after listening to this presentation, you realize the power of being in B specifically. And the reason why is because you can enjoy your time doing this. Like, I think there's two ways to go about anything in life. You can either stress out a bunch and be in a place of lack and scarcity, or you can come at it with abundance, know that you can manifest whatever dream you want, you can have faith, you can be prepared, and you can put it out in the universe. And I really believe that that experience is so much better in life, in anything that you do. You know, when you talk about food, food's one of my biggest things that I love to do. You know, they say, what is the most important ingredient in food? Type it in the chat box, guys, if you know what that is. What is the most important ingredient in food? And it's not salt, everybody who likes Indian food. It's not salt. It's actually, it starts with the letter L and it's love. And so that's an energy that gets put in. So why not put more love and more passion and fun into this process instead of stress or uncertainty and scarcity, right? So my view is being in Group B is always more powerful. And I truly believe that if you have that energy with anything in life, you usually get what you want. So about the resources, I'll get into that in a minute. But one of the things we do at College Shortcuts is our goal is to make parents' lives easier every day. And actually today I've got one of my favorites on here, Angela, that I love to bring her on here to chat a little bit about her experience. Let me go ahead and unmute you, Angela. Hopefully you can hear us.
I hear you.
Hi, Angela. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
So good. So good. So
I was just listening as you were talking, and like for me, when I was going to college, I had this great story. I was so excited to apply. I picked my college in 8th grade, and I do not have that child. It was much hard. My son's father went to IIT Kanpur, and building a narrative was very different. I mean, it's about taking a test and being
same with my dad at IIT too.
Yeah, it's just a totally different game. And so I'm so glad he was able to work with you. He's a freshman this year, and working with you and getting him to think about building that narrative. he was really in the pandemic discovered exercise and on TikTok. And you got him to start thinking about, okay, how can that be part of your college narrative? How can that fit into what you want to do? And he has been building this whole project about opening gyms. So he wants to major in finance. He got into the Finance Academy, which has like some finance AP classes. He got into an AP math class already for sophomore year. Wow. He was the only freshman selected. And now he's got this whole story that he tells about, I want to major in finance and I want to minor in some sort of fitness minor, nutrition or kinesiology or sports medicine. And I want to open a gym franchise. And he's like on the football team and everything goes back to like telling a story. He's thinking of it in a story because we worked with you early and his whole high school career is around that. And it all started because he watched TikTok fitness videos during the pandemic. So we're so grateful for that because it's like a framework for his high school career, which he definitely was not going to get on his own. Like his dad wouldn't have come up with it. Jesse wouldn't have thought of it. And I know that like he goes back to that when he makes decisions about which classes he wants to do one AP class a semester and he wants them to fit into his narrative.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing because what it is it helps to remind back, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why? And I remember when Jesse had no idea what that was, you know?
Yeah, I know he got mad about it because he's like, well, I can't do a project. What am I supposed to get a personal trainer certificate? Like I'm too young to do that. But he was like really, I think, resistant at first.
Of course, like most teenagers.
Yeah, he was not your probably most willing client. But he's always wanted to go to a good school and he doesn't want to do extra work. And I think that's what I like about your approach. I mean, it's interesting because the name of your company is College Shortcuts.
Right.
And I think that's the way I was able to convince him is like, he wants to go to a good school. He wants to have a successful career, but he doesn't want to work extra hard. And so now he feels really strategic. He's like, he knows what he's picking and why. In fact, he was just finishing up his English class. He got we didn't talk about this, but he did get straight A's.
Sweet.
For this year. So he was very proud of himself. But his last thing he finished was his English homework. And I was like, I'm really proud of you for getting everything in. And he's like, yeah, I just got the answers from Alia. My friend Alia gave me the answers. And I was like, okay, that's great. And he's like, I would never do that for classes that matter, but this class didn't really matter to me. So the last two assignments I copied off of Alia.
Oh my God. Oh gosh, these teenagers.
Oh my God. Teenagers. Right. But he's like when it came to his math classes, he would never do that. And he did biology, AP this year, zoology was honors. And he was like really into doing it himself. So he like knows what he cares about. I'm not advocating cheating.
Yeah, honestly.
But he really knows what he cares about. And I think that's really surprised me. He's got
there's nothing more awesome than when you see, especially when you have a son, right? And when you see a boy with direction.
Yes.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just have to say it, right? Because for a lot of us girls, like when we have direction, it's awesome. We get it done. We've got our planner. It's all awesome. We got it. But when you see a boy get direction too, it's like you can't even pull them off that track. It is a one-track mind on a direction. And it's really amazing because when we see it happen, it's phenomenal. And you see just everything else just work towards it and just do an amazing job. So I super appreciate you sharing, and guys, just so you know, and Pankaj, I know some of you guys have to sign off. Please look at the link right here and go to that link to schedule a call with us, because we would love to chat with you about your child. Angela here has been a longtime client of ours, and it's so exciting to see her son doing so well, and sharing her story.
The thing I was most excited to hear you talk about tonight is that soft skill stuff, because we haven't talked about that. His camera has been off for 12 months. And that I think is really important, is getting him to practice turning the camera on.
Totally.
The thing that we've definitely gotten from working with you is having that narrative, having that focus.
Yes.
And direction for college, picking the major early, having a passion, having a story. Grades obviously are important. We haven't started talking about testing or anything like that. I'm kind of worried about that, but I know
you got time.
Yeah, I was like, we haven't worried about that one yet, but the whole, talking to other humans thing has not been a big part of the last year.
I know. And that's why, in the last year, we actually revamped our mentorship program and broke it out, where Capstone Project is a separate service and mentorship is a separate service, because we found families can do as many capstone projects as they want with us. They'll learn leadership and all the things they need around passion. And then our mentorship program is just about soft skills specifically, because we realized that you need a full year of that type of coaching to really master it at minimum.
Yeah.
So we actually separated it out. We really re-looked at what we were doing, and we realized everyone wanted that project. And we said, okay, we're going to do that project separate, and we're going to do this by itself. So all of our service have been revamped for 2021. So it's really great. All right, great, Flandersia. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining on too. But yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, Angela, that, yes, it's so important to have that story and that path, and it really helps to bring everything on. And then the soft skills is that next step. Also, you've got students going into 9th grade, 10th grade, a lot of changes going on in that body, a lot going on in that mind. And so, those skills come over time. Sometimes, because there's so many changes that happen.
Well, and the teachers, I don't know, I just remember we used to have to present in the front of the class a lot, and they're not making them do it. They're just not getting that exposure. So.
Right. And they're not getting that presentation skill that they need. And that's actually why we did our capstone project as groups now, and there are cohorts that go through it so that they have to present in front of the students. While it's still virtual, it's still a lot of work to do a full-on presentation, because we realize that you need to have presentation skills, whether it's doing it in front of a lot of people or you have 20 minutes with Stanford's admissions rep who wants to talk to you. That in itself is its own TED Talk, So making sure that you have that idea of, presentation skills, knowing what types of questions people will ask can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Having an answer when Stanford says, why do you want to go here and why should I accept you?
Right.
Not
the answer, Mom, what should I say?
Let me check. Hey, Mom, what should I tell Stanford? And they're like, nope. Not the right answer.
Yeah, no, but we're just so grateful to you guys. And I thought you were crazy when you told me we should start working with you in 8th grade. You're like, no, 8th grade is not too young, but I can completely see now how much easier it is. Trying to cram all of this into junior year would be impossible.
So hard. It is so challenging. So I'm so grateful that we started early, and it's so fun to watch Jesse work with our team and keep growing as he keeps growing through high school, because we know how hard it is to be a mom of a teenager.
Yeah. Teenager in a pandemic.
Yeah.
The less.
So true.
And a Daisy football playing teenager, which is a whole new adventure.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, Angela, so much for sharing.
Yeah, happy to share.
Awesome. Thanks. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Angela's son, Jesse, is just a delight. He's changed so much over time, and he's had a lot of different passions. He at one point was interested in going into music and had a music video, and and it's okay for those passions to change, but it's about showcasing them in a beautiful way. So I'm so glad that you guys got to hear from Angela about, all the things that Jesse has been up to. So what I want to do is let you guys know that what we're doing is if you set up a call with us at collegeshortcuts.com/apply, we'll be giving you our admissions trend report that has recently been updated. It's about 20 pages of data analytics around the admissions process. We usually charge for it, but we're going to be giving it for free for all the families that sign up for a call today. We are so excited to have each and every one of you on. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat box, of course. But what we would love to do on this call is really do this discovery call where we can hear from you about your child. What's going on with them? What are their interests? And see where are the gaps where we can fill in as a company. And what can our mentors do and what can our consultants do to help you get the best choices in the future for your child? Because we all know in the end, all we want is for our children to be successful and to be happy. And that's why we had done so much work in the last year of revamping our services. We have our new website up. We have a lot of different changes that we did as we grew so much last year. And we want to make sure that all children are taken care of around the world. So we hope you enjoy this. We hope that you understand the power of College Shortcuts and what we can do to help create that framework for your child to really be strategic in their next 4 years or their last few years of high school. We help students at any point, whether it's 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, because we really believe that if we can come in and really create a strategy and a plan of action and help to execute and have a coach by their side that is in the most recent rounds of admissions, they're at competitive universities, they know what it takes, they can relate to your kid, they know what TikTok is, they're probably on TikTok. They can really enjoy working with your kid and being in that relatable space. One of the things my consultants say every year is the hardest thing for us to do each year is to let go. And I'll tell you, it's really hard for me too. I've got kids that are at Rice University down the street. And I still think about them almost every week. I may not chat with them all the time, but we remember every child that we work with, because when you work with us, you become part of the College Shortcuts family. So make sure to go ahead and click that link. It is so nice to see each and every one of you on. And we can't wait to speak with you. I look at every application that comes through, and we really look forward to learning more about your family and how we can help serve you to make your life easier. Have a great day and talk soon, everyone. Bye.